What's up, guys? Welcome back to boostgumps. It's me, your host Max, and the other guy Rex, just for something different. It's us two this time, as opposed to all the other ones.
I'm sitting here.
Alright. You can sit down, mate. You sit down. Anyway, as you can see, the motor, the engine here is magically togethered itself. Just slapped together. You can also see I painted the door. If you've been watching, you probably saw that ages ago compared to when this video is coming out. But hey, the door's painted, so you can stop telling me to paint the freaking door. It's a terrible job. It looks ridiculous, but it's painted. I'll give it 3 weeks before it looks exactly the same as it did before, but just brighter. Anyway, Rex, we'll talk about what lifters ended up going into this thing.
Not those ones.
Not those ones. So we talked about we were going to put the LS3 lifters that came out of that black Maloo we did. That was going to be the plan. Rex actually found, upon closer inspection, which I'm surprised he even looked at them before they went in, considering what this motor's been, just an absolute throw together of trash.
I didn't even look at it, I just saw it.
Anyway, one of the lifters out of that thing was actually the wheel, like the actual lifter wheel had been chewed. So, oh dear, oh, look at that. Can you see it? Anyway, that lifter was damaged, so we didn't put those, Rex didn't put those lifters in. We actually ended up putting up, we had another set of second-hand LS7 lifters that we got just with a bunch of crap that we bought one time. So those were actually earmarked for the Sylvia motor, but they ended up in this thing, so it is what it is. The other thing is I left Rex unsupervised for one night to put this together, and he got carried away and put a trunnion upgrade in it, so.
It was always the plan.
Not in my head it wasn't.
I'll take them off and put normal shit rockers on.
That's like $300. More than the rest of the motors cost us. Not really. Machine in the block costs more than probably a regular LS1 would in a regular one. Anyway, it is what it is. But either way, we're together. We've got our conical springs. We've now got a trunnion upgrade and LS7 lifters. So this puppy's good to send some 4L60s to the moon.
Power glides.
So anyway, this has been an absolute bitzer. We've got some second-hand GM head bolts that we've used again. We're pretty sure those have only been used one time before. We tried to pick a set that we thought it only
I'm pretty sure they went in really nice actually.
Nice.
Yeah, they felt good doing them up.
So just for those playing at home, we don't recommend ever reusing LS head bolts. They are what they're called to torque to yield, which means that they tighten to a yield point which gives them permanent deformation, which means that you shouldn't use them again. But hey, being that it's, you know, the yellow turd and it has so much sentimental value to us, we have no plans to ever sell it. We can be completely honest with what this motor is, and it is a toss together of crap. So we got just some 853s which we went through. Rex put their heads together with new set of valve stem seals, and we've got our conical singles, so we are good to go. What was the preload?
Bang on 40,000.
Bang on 40,000?
Yeah.
Nice.
Very happy. Oh, sweet.
So anyway, this thing's pretty much ready. This is getting the same treatment as pretty much the drift motor, my drift motor I should say, specify. We're going to chuck the ancillaries on it and just mask up a few things and just blast it black. Black out the world.
It's with me.
So did we decide what intake we're putting on this? So we're going to put an LS6 style intake, or we're going to put the ProFlow one?
No, LS6 because we'll go on full sleeper.
Oh, that's right. We've actually got
full stock look.
We picked up an LS1 turtle shell. We're actually going to put a turtle shell on it, and we've got still from the Tiger Micro SS that I parted out, or that was the donor for my drift car. We've still got the stock Commodore like airbox and everything as well, so we're going to try and fit that into the ute. And the plan is, being rear mount turbo, we're going to run the intake all the way up to the front, up through the bottom of the airbox, so that it all under the bonnet all looks completely stock, like full retrofitted LS1 with a turtle shell and the airbox and everything. But it's actually, you know, a little bit
of spice over there.
A little bit of that. So the other thing with this is we've actually not got that much breathing happening. Normally when you boost LSs, you really have to look into putting some extra breathers on the covers, because they do like to breathe pretty heavy. But given that this thing, we're not hoping to push heaps of boost, and we're not looking to make crazy amounts of power, we're hoping just pretty much the standard PCV setup is going to be sufficient. So that's sort of what we're looking at. If not, there's always the option of those sort of oil filler caps that have the breather in them, so we might be able to go down that route if we find that it's not sufficient enough. But the 80 series Land Cruiser that we've got pushing 14 pound on that with a little bit smaller cam than this. It's making 500 wheel, and it's got not much more breathing than this, and it seems to be coping up, you know, pretty well. Although with the 80, when we go through our bit of a rebuild process, we are going to sort that out. So we're piecing together a few more things. Found ourselves, that alternator's cooked. That's actually one I want to try and make one out of my, anyway, different thing. But we've got a set of coil packs. We found ourselves a knock sensor loom. Rex has found we actually have a like brand new Rico Gen 3 power steering pump, so that's nice. That's a good little find. That's really good. Rex has found an alternator bracket, which has now got in there. He's just trying to fish out bolts out of the bolt box to get it all to work. I'm assuming this is the water pump he's found, which is, you know, as a Gen 3 water pump, so I assume that's what it's there for. And that looks like a starter motor, so hey, we're doing all right. So the starter motor is actually my starter, but as these guys who've been following the R31 build know, I'm pretty much going to be going to like a short body starter. So I guess I'll donate that to Rex. Not that he asked me, he's just going to steal it anyway.
This is supposed to be an after school project, but I sort of need to get a couple of things sorted out.
But why?
Just because I said so. Oh no.
So we've also found ourselves a cam angle sensor. We've got heaps of spares of those. We need to buy a new oil pressure sender. We found some knock sensors, which is awesome. We've got to buy a new water temp sender, and we've got to buy a new crank angle sensor. But apart from that, we've sort of pieced together just about all the sensors we need. We've got injectors, coil packs now. We've got enough plug leads around that we can make plug leads. So we're looking pretty damn good. The only other thing is a tensioner. Do we have a tensioner?
Yeah, on the water pump. On the water pump already.
Sweet. So we'd have a tensioner as well. Look at us go.
Alright.
The bitser of bitches. Here you go, guys. A bit more magic. A few more things are attached. A few more shiny bits. You know, most of our ancillaries on here, Rex is just starting to prep this for paint. So plan is to hopefully paint this in the morning if the weather permits. And we'll be another step closer. Oh, we've got knock sensors and everything.
Yeah.
Not bad, eh? Huh? Cool. Cool beans. Mate, you still haven't done it this later.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I better. Before I paint it.
Righto guys, it's morning now. This thing's all prepped for paint, ready to go. But between last night and this morning, we've had a bit of a development. We've decided to go in a bit of a different direction with the whole build. So, as we talked about, the plan was to pretty much build this with what we had here and stick it in with the 4L60 because we already had it, and go from there and just sort of hope the 4L60 survive, not drive it too hard, try and keep it at a minimum sort of power we can, pretty much fingers crossed that it would live. So I was crunching some numbers in my head, trying to think about what we'd have to do. For the 4L60 we'd need a gearbox cross member for the 1-tonner because we don't have one to suit a 4L60. So we'd have to buy engine mounts anyway, but then we need a gearbox cross member as well. And we'd also need to change the shifter because at the moment we've got the B&M Quicksilver shifter in the car, which is for a 3-speed. It wouldn't suit a 4L60, so we'd have to buy a shifter to suit, and we'd still have to get a tail shaft built. So, you know, you crunch some numbers there between your tail shaft and your shifter and everything else. We're already looking at sort of $1,600 or so, $1,700 to get that sorted. Which, when I started thinking about the fact that we've already got our Turbo 400 cross member for that car, we've already got a Turbo 400 tail shaft to suit that diff from when that you had the big block in it, and it's already got the Quicksilver shifter in the car, which is to suit a Turbo 400. We've already got Rex's Red Diamond 2800 Turbo 400 converter, which was going to be going into the purple VY before it changed direction as well, so now it's sort of spare. So we've already got a converter. All we need is a flex plate to suit the converter, which is not a super expensive part really. That's actually quite cheap. You can buy non-SFI rated ones for under $200, which for us, for that unit, it doesn't matter. We're not going to go racing, but we don't particularly need an SFI rated one. So all we're missing is literally a gearbox and one of those flex plates that suit a Turbo 400 converter. Now, with our box guy, you know, does really good boxes, does really good work. He's the one that built the box for that purple ute. We could get a box through him for probably just a tad shy of 3K-ish, be around $3 grand. So for the cost of $3,000 plus a $200 flywheel, you know, you got 3,200 versus still 1,700 or so. For that extra 1,500 bucks, we end up with a much better result, a much stronger gearbox, a much stronger combo. We're using stock LSA injectors, which we have some spares of lying around, and they're good for, you know, what we want to do as well. There's nothing else in the setup that is going to limit it besides that 4L60. So the extra money we got to pay, it's one of those sort of do it right, do it once. Again, it's one of those cars we never really planned to sell, so it's probably worth it to us just to spend that extra bit of money, which in the scheme of things isn't a lot, and put a turbo 400 in it and be done with it. And you know, then we'll be happy to push this thing further towards 500 horsepower and, you know, not be scared to actually drive it, and it'll be a lot more fun for us. So that's been the development, so that's the plan we're going to go. So we made this development, and then we do have a lot of turbo 400s around the place. It's just that most of them belong to our dad, and he's got them set aside for other combos that he's got plans to build eventually, maybe when he gets his shed back one day. So he's actually sold us one of his boxes for fairly cheap. So yeah, we should get a box to our box guy and get that one to our box guy and get the core built, and we should have it back here for under $3,000. So if we can have the box and the flywheel for $3K, we'll be doing pretty well. So that's the new development, which has got me a fair bit more excited for this thing. I'm excited for it to, you know, make 500 wheel and not be worried about the gearbox every time I drive it. So, and you know, we'll actually be able to take it down to power play and power cruise and stuff like that, and actually drive it hard and not be scared of the gearbox flying apart. So that's been the development, that's the latest. So just thought I'd fill you in. So this morning we're just trying to piece together all of our fittings and everything we're going to need to get this thing built. We've got our turbo out here, sitting here, trying to sort out. We've got some spare fittings for that, which we won't have to buy. Rex has got the scavenge pump, so this is the scavenge pump for the oil drain for the turbo, which will be pumping our oil from the turbo under the tray back up to the sump, which we actually only remembered this morning that we haven't put a bung in the sump yet for the turbo return. But that being said, as we said in the last episode, we're still not sure how that sump's going to go in the 1-tonner with the cross member. So we've still got a bit to nut out there. We'll probably dummy fit it first before we pull it back out and pull the sump off and put the drain where we reckon is going to be best. So that's pretty much where we're at. The feed's just going to be 200 series braid from the engine back, and we're going to put it on the little dick that comes out of the oil. I'll show you on the motor when we go back inside. But for fuel system, we're also going to be using pretty much the entire fuel system we have in the S13 ready to go. In the interest of getting this thing done on a budget and fairly soon, because we really need a ute, we're just going to use that stuff. And then when it comes time to finish the Sylvia off, we'll buy all new gear. If you remember when we started the Sylvia build as well, we actually decided to use the surge tank that came out of V80, which is one that's designed to be mounted upside down. So it was something that we were going to sort of mount to the bottom of the parcel shelf underneath the boot in the S13 to get to work anyway. It'd be way better suited to be mounted under the tray of the tonner, you know, in the orientation it's meant to be mounted. It's better suited. So then when it comes to the S13, we'll just buy all new stuff for that again, because it's either we buy it now or we buy it later. And at the moment, we'd rather buy it later when we've got probably more money. At the moment, we're trying to build like too many cars at once. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you about this being turbo 400 now?
Pretty excited. Just need to work out what that diff is. That's the only concern.
Oh yeah, that's right. Might have to change the diff ratio.
Yeah, I'd really like a 4th gear because I really want to get good fuel economy.
Also guys, just for anyone who's watching the build, the old 202 and Trimatic combo is definitely for sale if anyone would like to buy. So just going through a few more things, I've dug out this PWR transcooler. So this actually came out of the MX-83 that I was going to do my Turbo LS into. So someone had set this up for the A340 that was in that, and I had it set aside. I was actually going to use it for the VS. But if you watch the VS build, when I actually pulled the motor and box and everything out of the wagon, it already had a PWR transcooler, exactly the same as this. It's just that it didn't have the Dash 6 fittings. So I've already got a transcooler for the VS, so I don't need to use this. So I had this set aside for when I build the EA or something, but like I keep saying, with the theme for the rest of the build is we either buy it now or we buy it later, and we'd rather use what we have now. This is the turtle shell we're talking about. We've got a turtle shell to go on it, so like under the bonnet, it'll just be like turtle shell, a stock looking LS, airbox in the corner like a Commodore would. It'll just look like a very much retrofitted LS. It'll just have our HSV header pipes on it,
It'd just look like someone stuck a mighty old LS in a tonner and just wanted a reliable, fuel efficient, good sounding cruiser. And all of the spicy, juicy fruitiness will be hidden up the back under the tray. So here we go. It's certainly not very good painting weather. In fact, it's probably just about the worst painting weather. But not gonna get a better opportunity today, we don't think. And Rex really needs this thing painted so we can continue with the rest of the stuff we need to do to it. So gonna blast it with some black anyway. All black everything. Good sniffing here. Mmm. Alright, look at that. It's all black. She's all painted up. Looks $1 million bucks. They always do. Looks awesome. So, managed to get that little bit of a window where we could paint. We also had a bit more of a development today. We actually had to talk to our box guy. Had a chat to him about what it was going to cost for, you know, one of his sort of boxes if we supplied the core. And it ended up being way cheaper than we had expected originally. So, he has looked after us really, really well. He's a really nice guy, and he reckons, because we send him quite a bit of work and stuff, not only that, but he wants to use this box as a bit of a R&D development for some stuff that he wants to try out to start offering as well to people. So for those sort of reasons, he's pretty much going to do it for us for cost plus a little bit, which is freaking awesome. So at the end of the day, we worked out it's pretty much going to cost us 500 bucks or less to actually go the route we're going and have a 500 horsepower rated turbo 400 rather than a stock
4L60.
4L60. So we're absolutely stoked with this development from today. Super stoked that we decided to start exploring
and
this option.
anyone who knows our feelings about 4L60s will understand.
They're trash.
We do not like 4L60s.
Absolute trash. So it's just, even if it doesn't make, you know, like I said, we're pretty certain this combo should be plenty capable of 500 wheel. This turbo should do it. That was pretty much the plan for this turbo when I went on the Cressy. Was always the plan was 500 wheel, and not just 500 wheel, but I wanted 500 wheel the same way the Cruiser makes 500 wheel, which is just tire frying, just early RPM, just crazy power delivery, and I think that's what it's going to be. So it's pretty much going to be like driving the Cruiser, except way lighter and a ute. So it's going to be absolutely stupid.
It'll be a good parts hauler.
Yeah, good parts ute. So just excited for the fact that even if we do make 450, even if we pull it up there because of the way the motor's been built and the way the block is with the cracks and the liners, at least we know that we can drive the shit out of it at 450 wheel and not have to worry about the gearbox. Whereas before, it was always going to be a question mark. It was always going to be, you know, we'd probably have to baby it and drive with some mechanical sympathy and be nice to it. Whereas now we know we can drive the shit out of it, which is awesome.
No one wants a limit on fun.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking forward to it.
It's almost a shame that, as good as it looks, we're going to cover it all up with that bloody turtle shell. But anyway.
Well, the other thing I'm excited about is because we want to mount the turbo on the tray, we're going to have a very short exhaust or a dump pipe, pretty much. Essentially, we're just going to have like yay much dump from the turbine.
And we have no capability and no plans for any mufflers, so
it's just going to sound off tap. Like all you're going to be able to hear is the turbine. It's just, I'm so excited. I think this build's going to be sick. I think in my head I've been underrating this build as we've been doing it, but we're starting to get a point where I'm starting to get really excited.
Well, like I said, it's like, this is sort of our throw together slapper drive line to throw into our tonner as a shop ute, but this is someone else's dream build.
Yeah, yeah. Still respect it as such.
We need to appreciate that.
Yeah, still respect it and appreciate for what it is, but I mean, it is pretty much mostly just second-hand parts that were otherwise destined for the bin, except for, you know, obviously the blocking heads and stuff. But the old night shift, hey? You go tuning some cars, buddy. Frog tune. So you can see here, we started getting manifolds and stuff together, getting things happening. We finally received the rest of the parts we need to actually put in the sensors and our injectors, our LSA injectors. So they will be going in tonight's mission. But firstly, we've got to dig out the Turbo 400 because tomorrow I'm going to take that down to our boy. Where's the good bucks? Gotta get the technique.
It's got to be.
Frog lift.
Ready?
First things first, we'll give it a good wash so it's not disgustingly greasy and grimy for Danny. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, a little bit more progress on the LS. Sorry that I didn't film any of it. I was doing barra things while Rex is in here working on this. So we've got our new injectors installed. So these are stock LSA injectors. We were waiting on these extensions to actually install them on the stock rail. So stock rail with our LSA injectors should be enough injectors to do what we want to do. We've got our fitting on the end of our rail here to just go to a -6 AN, which is awesome. That makes things really nice and simple. We need to get a map sensor still. We still need to get a 2-bar map sensor. The other thing is we did order a Holden oil pressure senders and coolant temp senders. Unfortunately, the supplier sent us the wrong stuff. That's okay, it happens, but unfortunately we can get the sensors in today. We've got a new alternator here. This is a Max Speeding Rod Special. Cheap boy alternator, so keen to see how that holds up. Hopefully it goes pretty well. And we've come to the realization we've mounted our Castlemaine conversion engine mounts, and we've just come to the conversion to the realization now that with these mounts, with the way that these things mount into a H series Holden, how far the mounting points are forward, we can't run the aircon compressor in the traditional placement. So the only way we're going to sort out aircon for this is to run a high mount setup, which will probably happen just obviously not right now, but as I was saying to Rex the other day, by the time this goes together and goes in the car, we're looking at probably mid to late March. So by that time we're already starting to get into the cooler months anyway, so by the time it's together and on the road, we should have probably a couple of months to think about sorting out the aircon before we start getting back into summer. So it shouldn't be a big deal at the moment. So now we're pretty much on the wait for our sensors to get here, our replacement ones, once we sort that out tomorrow, because it's like 10:30 at night. Been a lot of late nights getting this sorted, but it's nice. It's nice to make some more progress on another one of our own projects. We're really looking forward to this now, particularly now that we've got the Turbo 400 going. So it's in the car ready to go down to Danny, take that down in the morning. We also dragged in the actual car into the shed, which it's actually in the shed right over there right now. Rex actually had a good look at the diff, and we've worked out it is a 308, which is awesome. So we had it in our head that it was going to be it was a 355 for some reason, which would have been perfect for our 4L60, but for the Turbo 400 it's a little bit short. We needed something a little bit taller. So the fact that it's a 308 is awesome because it's exactly the ratio we need for our Turbo 400 for this thing. So that's awesome. For now, on a budget, we're just going to have to do something with the center, and hopefully it sorts. It's okay. You know, the ton is pretty light, and we've both got a little bit of mechanical sympathy, so it should be alright. Anyway, that's pretty much where we're at with this. That's pretty much going to be the end of this episode. At this stage, the motor, apart from these couple of sensors, is ready to go in the car. So basically, next chance we get, next time the hoist is free, we'll get the ute in here, get the 202 running and get some footage of it running so that people know that it runs. And then we'll go ahead and rip it out and start making room for our new love baby. The absolute Bitstorm LS that has been thrown together with spare parts. I love it, it's great. Cheers guys, thanks for watching, tune in for the next episode. We'll see you then. Peace out, see you, bye.